Gene Hackman never got a call, a message, a visit, or a memorial. He was a Hollywood star who was forgotten and left to die in the dark. When Gene Hackman died, the world wasn't shocked by his death, but by how quiet it was around him. She was a star who made Hollywood kneel, but now she's just a lost ghost in an empty house. He didn't have a phone. Why? It seems like Gene Hackman left Hollywood before he actually died. When the truth about his last call comes out, it's a story of cruelty, betrayal, and Hollywood's dark secrets. Are you all set? Gene Hackman, a Hollywood icon who left an indelible mark on viewers with his sharp, deep, and powerful parts, died in complete silence. He didn't have a phone, hence no last note or emergency call. A star who ruled the movies for more than 50 years couldn't get in touch with anyone when he needed help the most. Many people were shocked by this truth. Gene Hackman was an actor who set new trends and saw the growth of an entire film business. So why did he live so alone that he didn't have what everyone else takes for granted? Tom Allen, who has known Hackman for a long time, told the press that he wasn't shocked to learn that Hackman didn't have a cell phone. Allen said in a short voice that he wasn't interested in technology. Hackman was never interested in tech. He didn't have a cell phone, send texts, or use any other new digital tools. But Hackman couldn't call for help when his 32-year-old girlfriend, Betsy Arakawa, quickly passed out. He got lost in his own house and didn't realize that his beloved wife was motionless just a few meters away. The question is whether things would have been different if Hackman had a phone. Forensic police went to Hackman's home in Santa Fe and found Betsy in the bathroom. Hackman was on the floor of another room, and there were no signs that an emergency call had been made. This was very scary. It had been a long week since he had been there. What took place at that time? Hackman was a strong, independent man all his life. He wasn't interested in Hollywood's glitz and didn't like how busy modern technology was. He spent his days drawing, reading, and going for walks in the New Mexico sun, like an old traveler. But did they choose to be alone, or was it a sign of something more troubling? People who knew Hackman said he didn't like phones. But as his Alzheimer's got worse in his last years, not being able to talk to anyone became a big problem. Hackman still seemed to be able to understand that he didn't need a phone. Or was someone leaving him alone and not giving him any way to get help? Someone close to the Hackman family even made a guess. Because of some reason, did someone mean to not give Hackman a phone? Was Hackman's total isolation from the rest of the world not just because he didn't like technology? During the week after Betsy stopped talking, Hackman was still out there. But how did he live? The information that detectives gave was upsetting. It looks like Hackman didn't eat anything. He hadn't eaten in days and was just wandering around his house without a plan. He might have been looking for something he couldn't remember. Zinna, one of Hackman's last loyal dogs, was also found dead in a crate. Two other dogs managed to stay alive by running around the house openly. Zinna was left alone in the crate. This was an upsetting fact that showed Hackman wasn't aware enough to remember his dog friend in his last days. What did he do back then? Someone or something told him that his wife had left him for good, but no one knows for sure. There are bigger issues at play in Hackman's story than just his own tragedy. It's about Hollywood, lost heroes, and people who were famous in their youth but were forgotten as they got older. What was the point of a Hollywood star living alone for so long? Was it not being watched by anyone? No one from Hollywood, his family, or his friends come and see him. Why didn't someone give him a cell phone? Did he not want one, or was there something else going on? In the end, Hackman couldn't fight the hard truth. He lived his life with the pride of an artist who wouldn't give up. He couldn't get help when he really needed it. Tom Allen choked up and said he couldn't have called for help even if he wanted to if he didn't have a phone. That was it. There was no way for Hackman to call anyone, even if he wanted to. A hero walked into the darkness in complete silence. The phone didn't ring, no one answered, and no last words were sent. Keep quiet. And that was the most scary thing. Gene Hackman's multi-million-dollar home was once a peaceful place where he and his beloved wife Betsy Arakawa spent their last years in New Mexico. But when the cops broke down the door, they saw a love story that wasn't like in a fairy tale. It was a horror, a sad picture of being alone, forgetting, and a tragedy that no one saw coming. Hackman was discovered on the floor in the living room, looking like he had just fallen and was unable to get up. He was there for a long time, but no one knew how long. No one knew how he felt when he was by himself all those days. But what scared the cops the most was going into the bathroom, where Hackman had hidden Betsy Arakawa's body for a week. The big house with windows that looked out over the desert turned into a grave all of a sudden. Hackman had no idea. He didn't understand. He had been living with someone who wasn't responding for a week and didn't know it. What took place at that time? Did Hackman say the name of his wife? Did he try to find her? Or had he forgotten she was still there because he was old? Some people say that a house is only a home when someone lives there and the house is full of voices, laughing, talks, and warmth. But Hackman's home, which used to be a great place for a Hollywood star to relax, slowly turned into a lonely place. No one paid attention to the 15 days of strange silence. Outside, the leaves were still falling and light was still coming in through the windows. But inside, an old man walked around his house, not realizing that his whole world had fallen apart in front of him. Who was there to check? Hackman had been out of Hollywood for a long time. His old friends who used to be on the screen with him had moved on or retired. He had been forgotten by Hollywood, and no one showed up when he needed them the most. One person was still there, though, and they could hear and see everything. The dog named Zinna. Zinna wasn't moving when the cops found it. Its stomach was empty, which showed that it had been starving. Zinna was put in a box, which was a very painful detail, while two other dogs were allowed to run free in the house and survived. What did this show? There are two options. One, Hackman had forgotten that Zinna existed. In his last days, he couldn't remember that another person's life depended on him. Two, he wasn't strong enough to do anything. Hackman might have tried to open the box for Zinna, but wasn't able to. He felt like he was locked up in his own house. 15 days. Too long for such a big star to go away without being seen. Why didn't someone check by calling? Why didn't anyone come? What made a famous Hollywood actor spend his last days alone? No one wants to face the harsh truth that Hollywood doesn't care about old stories. Gene Hackman was a big name and the heart of many famous movies. No one cared about him when he was out in public, though. Gene Hackman, the great actor, was no longer with him. He was just an old man living alone in a house in the middle of nowhere. Hackman needed someone the most, but when he got there, his house was empty, his wife wouldn't talk to him, and there was a dead dog in a box. Hackman and Betsy used to be a big deal in Hollywood. She took care of him and helped him with his work and personal life for more than 30 years. But in the end, Hackman had to say goodbye in a way that no one could have imagined. He had to do it while he was asleep, out of his mind, and completely alone. Police went into the house and found more than just 2 deaths. They also found a love story that had been lost to time and the coldness of Hollywood. Hackman's last days were more than just a personal tragedy. It made me think of how lonely people can be and how people can forget about people who made history or brought light to the big screen, but were then thrown into darkness. There was complete silence at the end of a beautiful love story that Hollywood adored. No one came because they didn't know or understand. A wonderful love story, but in the end, there were only shadows in a house that was empty. It was a quiet departure for Gene Hackman, who used to rule the big screen with his strong parts. There were no party celebrations, farewells, or people praising his amazing success on stage. But maybe what shocked people the most wasn't that he left Hollywood, but how Hollywood left him. Hackman said, "I no longer want to be a part of Hollywood." It looked like Hollywood also didn't want to be a part of his last years. He really should have called someone, though. One of Hackman's close friends was shocked when she heard about Betsy Arakawa's death and said, "I can't believe he didn't call anyone." This wasn't just a fit of anger. It was a charge, and there was a big question mark over why Hollywood had left this figure behind. Does Hackman not want to call anyone? He knew a lot of people from his old job. His acting was some of the best ever seen on film. He still painted, wrote, and had fans. But he didn't say a word when the worst thing that ever happened to him happened. Not a single signal, message, or call for help was sent. He knew no one would answer, or he wasn't able to. Hackman didn't elope with anyone else. A lot of other famous stars decided to live alone, out of the spotlight. But they are not the same. Even though Jack Nicholson had retired, people still came to visit, and the news still talked about him. Sean Connery was still admired and honored by his co-workers before he died. But Hackman? He didn't get any Hollywood attention. No one called to see what was going on. No one came to see. Hackman's silence. Wasn't it his choice, or did Hollywood leave him? He was a strong, proud man as well as a great performer. Whenever he quit playing, he didn't look for notice or praise from other people. But what he didn't expect was complete forgetfulness. After that, he was all by himself when he got old and tragedy struck in his own home. Hollywood didn't care. Who was there to check? Someone once said that in Hollywood, bonds only happen when you're the center of attention. Handshakes, smiles, and compliments stop when you step down. Hackman stopped going to award shows, sitting on late-night talk shows, and walking the red carpet. And so, he slowly faded out of sight for everyone. But was he purposely left alone? It was said that Hollywood didn't really want Hackman to come back. He said that directors were shallow and too focused on making money. He turned down a lot of big jobs because he didn't like how the business worked. He didn't go to the events that Hollywood needed him to, and he turned down many awards. Was he now an outsider in the world he used to rule? No one showed up when he really needed a friend or someone to remember him. One sad thing about this story is that Hackman never stopped making art, even after he left Hollywood. He painted, wrote books, and did other artistic things like he did when he was younger, but he didn't understand that being alone was ruining his life. No one read what he wrote. No one saw the painting he made. The world went on, but no one talked about Hackman anymore. Hackman didn't know what to do or understand what was going on when Betsy died in their home on that terrible day. He was a Hollywood star, but was lost in his own world. Did Hollywood give up on its legend? Gene Hackman was one of the best actors of his time. He could play any role, from good guys to bad guys, criminals to deep thinkers. But in the end, the people who had praised him forgot about him. When the cops went to Hackman's house, they saw more than just an old man. They saw a terrible question. Why was a story left by itself? Gene Hackman won a lot of awards and praise in Hollywood. What he really needed, though, was someone to care about him and ask for help. But he had nothing. No one called. No one showed up. No one asked. The whole world used to praise Gene Hackman. But in the end, he was nothing more than a ghost in his own house. A terrible way to remember nothing. Once upon a time, Gene Hackman was a Hollywood giant, an unquestionable star, and an actor who could quiet the world with just one play. But even myths can be lost in Hollywood. Hackman was also forgotten while he was still living. No one came by, checked, or said goodbye. People didn't remember he was there until he was gone. It's hard to believe that one of the best actors ever died without a sound being made. There were no calls, texts, visits, or signs that anyone remembered Hackman from work or old friends. In the past, Hackman was praised as a hero in Hollywood, but once he stopped being famous, no one remembered him. The hacker did not have a cell phone. Hackman wasn't on any social networks. It had been 20 years since Hackman had been on TV. His house by himself, his art, his books, and experiences that no one else remembered made up his world. Then he was by himself when he really needed someone. The cops found something scary in Hackman's house when they searched it. Betsy Arakawa's email inbox was full of letters, notes, and emails that had not been opened or responded to. There were clear signs that the couple had not been in touch with anyone for a long time. They weren't checked on. No one knew that they were gone. No one asked them why they were so quiet for so long. People didn't start to wonder if Hollywood knew Hackman was going away until it was too late. It's true that Hollywood has left Hackman behind, even if they didn't mean to. No one cared that he was getting weaker. Hackman had retired, which was known to the people who worked with him. They knew he wasn't there because they shared the screen with him. Fans knew he wasn't doing anything different. No one did anything, though. Hackman wasn't asked to come back to Hollywood. No one put together a memorial to honor him. No one tried to get back in touch with the celebrity. Then, when he was done, people acted to be shocked. The most painful truth about Hollywood is not how they remember someone, but how they respect them. Gene Hackman wasn't a star on the decline, a great talent who will never be forgotten. But in the end, the world he once ruled forgot about him. No one talked about him when he was alive. No one helped him when bad things happened. Only after he died did Hollywood act like they were sad. There were articles, praise articles, and remembrance posts all over the place. It was too late, though. Hackman was no longer there to see it happen. Even though Hollywood is full of sad stories about legendary actors who have died, Gene Hackman's may be one of the most upsetting. Hollywood didn't just forget about him. He wasn't just by himself at home. It was like even his own memories were going away. Alzheimer's took away what little was left. Hackman was not only a man who had been left by the world when the cops found him in that cold house, but also a mind that had lost everything. Gene Hackman was told he has Alzheimer's in its late stages. No one knew the truth about it. Not family, friends, co-workers, or fans. He used to be a sharp and smart person, in charge of every frame at all times. He didn't know what was going on around him, though. He had no idea what day it was. He couldn't recall the last time he left the house. He didn't even know that his wife had died. He didn't know his wife was dead, the medical officer later found. Gene Hackman's last days were cloudy because he was sick. Hackman didn't know he was living with the body of his wife for days. Even the most painful movies couldn't make this tragedy come to life. His neighbors said he often just walked around the house, drawing, writing, and talking to himself. There were no signs that he was aware of what was going on around him. The house he used to live in was now empty. There was no life or laughing, and no one knew what was going on behind those closed walls. The worst part was that no one from Hollywood or anywhere else in the world came to check on him. Hackman was one of the best singers in the world. He was at the top of the podium and won the most coveted awards. He died, though, leaving behind 4 cold walls and a mind that was slowly dying. He was once adored by Hollywood, but they forgot about him. People who used to cheer for him have disappeared. His movies were now just names on lists of old movie fans. Hackman's last days were unknown to everyone. No one knew what he was thinking when he was awake. Not a single person knew if he felt alone. Then, one day, Hollywood claimed to be sad because it was too late and nothing could be saved. Hackman was dying and no one knew it. He died a long time ago, but no one knew he had left the world. His memory was finally brought back to Hollywood, but he was already gone. Not anyone to call, not anyone to remember, no one to say goodbye to. Gene Hackman felt like Hollywood not only forgot about him, but also left him. Gene Hackman died, leaving behind a sad story. But I don't feel good. Finding out more about how he died leaves us with more questions than answers. He didn't have a phone, so why? Did he choose to live alone, or was someone else in charge of him? Does his family have a secret? Does this just sound like a sad story? Or is there something darker going on? There's more to Gene Hackman's story than just a sad finish for a Hollywood star. It's like a picture with lots of dark spots and unknowns. The phone that didn't exist. Choice or power? Have you ever thought about why actors like Gene Hackman didn't have cell phones? He couldn't be called. No one could see if he was okay. The worst part was that he couldn't call for help. Hackman's friends and family said he didn't like electronics and didn't want to be bothered. But is that really it? Is there another reason? People over the age of 50 are often pushed to the sidelines in Hollywood, where fame and power are easy to lose. Was Hackman's lack of a phone choice or an attempt to keep him from talking to anyone? There is a strict rule in Hollywood. You're only worth something when you make money. In the movie business, Gene Hackman was one of the most famous names. But when he stopped working, Hollywood stopped working with him. Nobody in the business that used to respect him was interested in making movies with him, calling him, or paying attention to him. He was at the top, but when he went down, he went into the dark and no one saw him. Gene Hackman's story isn't the first story like this. Other giants have been left behind by Hollywood and are now living alone and forgotten. Hackman's family tightly controlled all information right after he died. Not many in-depth stories on what killed the person. Not many conversations with family members. All the information seemed to be strangely hidden. Are they just trying to protect Hackman's reputation? Or do they not want people to know something? Why was Hackman so lonely is still the biggest question. In his last days, no one from Hollywood called, came by, or checked on him. Is this just cruel nothingness? Or is someone trying to hide something more important? Too many questions are left open by Gene Hackman's death. For what reason did one of the best stars in Hollywood live alone? Who is to blame for this forgetfulness? Did he really want to stay away from everyone? Or was he being pushed to be alone on purpose? Does Hollywood have a secret they don't want to share? The most important question is whether Gene Hackman could have been saved if someone had acted faster. Gene Hackman will always be a puzzle. Barry? We might never know the whole story of how Gene Hackman died. He may have really chosen this life. Maybe he didn't want anyone to get in touch with him. His family may just want to keep his spirit alive. But maybe Hollywood doesn't want us to know the real story behind his death. As Gene Hackman's story comes to an end, a question becomes more clear. Hollywood knew the whole time, so why didn't they say anything? They couldn't have forgotten that a celebrity like Hackman was living alone. Even if he was losing consciousness, they had to know he was sick. What did no one do? Hackman, who controlled the screen with strong, charismatic parts, eventually vanished into a void that was hard to understand. Could this be an accident, or did Hollywood try to hide something bigger? Take a look at this. There were no honors right away from big stars. Hackman did not have a big funeral or any touching talks with former coworkers. Even stars who worked with him and called him a master actor were mostly quiet. Why? Movie stars don't act like this toward legends. Icons die all the time, and people from work to the media pay respect to them. But when Hackman died, it was too quiet. Is this silence an accident or part of a plan? He didn't have a phone, that much we know. Hackman didn't tell anyone that his wife had died. For weeks, no one checked. His family kept information about him very secret. But that's only the tip of the iceberg of what we don't know. Why didn't anyone in Hollywood talk about his illness? Who was in charge of deciding what about Hackman was made public? What really happened in that house when he was dying? How quickly can someone be forgotten? Hackman is not the first actor Hollywood has turned their back on. Not as many tales are known as they used to be, eventually becoming forgotten by most people. A field that once made Hackman a star eventually turned a blind eye when he went dark. No longer is this Gene Hackman's own story. This is the story of how Hollywood treats people who used to praise it. It's scary how tightly information about Gene Hackman is controlled. What has been made public is everything that the public knows so far. But the question is, where is the truth? Did Hollywood know Hackman was getting weaker but chose to keep quiet? Did he really die alone? Or is there something else going on? Lastly, is the truth hidden somewhere and we're only seeing part of the story? Gene Hackman is still alive. He had no choice but to go away. Death isn't scary. That's where hell really is. He became a celebrity thanks to movies. Then Hollywood pushed him into darkness that would never end. Do you think the story is over? Still until now.